Hey, listen, I quit. Yeah, I'm going into stocks.
Name of the game. Move the money from your client's pocket into your pocket.
But if you can make your client's money at the same time, it's advantageous to everyone, correct?
No one is paying attention.
It's unbelievable.
Have to act now.
God, this is intimate. I feel like I'm financially inside of you or something.
Okay.
I have 5 houses and a condo.
I'm considering going long on April wheat. What do you think, Valentine?
Alright, so hi guys, welcome back to the Greedy Trader channel. Alright, so for those of you who are new here, welcome aboard. This is the channel where we talk about all things market profile. Yes, we know there are a lot of people doing a lot of other stuff out there, but the one thing that we can say is that 95% of institutions use market profile, and that's why we should be using it. What we do know is that we can see the market from a both dynamic perspective, and we can also see the market in a way that most people can't, which allows us to make pretty good decisions. And through this video, I'm going to talk you through some of the trades that I've done. P&L will be on the screen, and I will talk you through some of the concepts that I use here. So this particular video is going to be a lot more, it's going to be a bit more of a teaching element to it. Now, for those of you who've been with me for quite a long time, then this is just another video. Right, so I'm going to start off initially with talking you through the week, as I always do. We are going to be looking at the weekly profiles, so I'm going to start off with that. So take a look at Aussie dollar. Now, we had a conversation about this a couple of weeks ago. We floated on the upside. We spoke about the offer stack. We broke through briefly. We built up and then we broke lower. We broke the underside support from the prior week, and now we're going much lower. So from the look of it, we are stuck here on a bid stack, and that should hold up. So guys, I'm a little bit bunged up this week. Yeah, so I just don't sound myself. I held off doing a few videos this week just to kind of recover, but it looks like it's taken me a little bit longer to get back into my plain shape. So you're going to hear that across the video, that my voice is just a little bit flat, but don't mind me. It's just I'm seriously bunged up on both my noses. Alright, so we're sinking low. We're sitting on a bid stack now, which is quite common to get some volatility, gap in value, so we expect this to get filled. So we know, of course, we got a downside gap, so we've got to fill that too. So I'm actually expecting a pretty big drop in the Aussie. We are seeing that also intra-week in the Kiwi, and we'll talk about that. So again, I would look for a play to the downside. I think we're a bit deep in the hole, sort of mid-value. We're a little bit nowhere, and again, like always, we talk about liquidity concepts. As we moved up, we swept and we took out most of the liquidity on the top side, and now we're heading much lower, and that makes sense, right? So whenever we see plays like this, we've got to keep an eye. Crude oil, we have voiced time and time again, week after week, how uncertain we are about crude. It looks like we have some interesting competitive demand here until we test out these levels. We've been seeing a lot of pickup on crude, but it's just the buyers haven't been able to make much headway, and we can literally see you know, those offers coming in. So whether these are trapped buyers here, we don't know. We won't know until we start seeing some serious upside breaks. So on the weekly, I'd say that we are turning from what we were expecting to be a bullish run into somewhat bearish. And what can we expect when we see the market behaving this way? We can often see we're going to get a liquidity sweep, so we're probably going to go under, maybe trade, take out the competitive buyer print here. Obviously everyone who is chasing behind this is going to get into some trouble, and then we're going to sweep that and probably make our way higher. So again, I would expect a bit more of a downside break on crude, and that's what we're seeing here with the profile. We can see those offers stacking. I mean, there's not a lot of bid stacking to this stage. We're trading under the main bid stack, so really what's holding up this market is the competitive buyers in C period going back a few weeks, and we're also looking at the massive S period print. So crude, my position is now looking somewhat bearish, I think, on crude. The S&P 500, for me, this is just a pullback. We've got a gap in value, so as always, we're expecting some huge downside pushes. It's one of the reasons that we have ultimately always expressed the fact that we would like to be trying to get long some good equities as opposed to maybe trading the broader, more like the Apples and the Nvidias, because they're going to go with the broader index. So for those of you who follow me on my Discord server, by the way, I'll leave a link in the description below. We have a free Discord server. So if you followed me on there, then you would have heard me talk about some of the plays that I got into. And here's why. It's because the S&P is pulling back. I expect some stuff that's undervalued is probably not going to go any lower. And that's why I look to kind of jump into those. But we got a nice bid stack here. So I'm suspecting that we're going to find some support into sort of 4287 if this downside continues. Don't be surprised. The US Open kicks off and then we got a big upside move. Gold, we did say under 1938. We can expect 1900 an ounce, possibly lower. We have a gap in value. We had a huge rejection for several weeks into that 1938 value, and that immediately told us that we would need to be bearish underneath, and it makes for a very good value play. And if you, the data is not complete anymore, we've moved a few weeks forward, but we are trading against a major value going back into these weeks. It's just not visible on the profile anymore. I think I have about a 52-week look back, but again, I would expect more downside on gold. Cable, exactly the same, bit of a pullback at this stage. I would think we're sort of basing here, and when we see this kind of movement, we kind of get the perspective that we're basing out. Now again, we've seen, so if we look at the wider structure, we've had a liquidity sweep up here, we've had another one up here, so at some point you can expect that we're going to cool off, right? Are we seeing evidence of that already? Yes, we're seeing some offers stacking. We've traded into the point of control. It's a bit problematic, I would say. Usually breaking down these sort of profiles are not easy, so let's look for a midpoint trade back into maybe 2635. You'd probably want to review a sort of shorter term chart like a 4-hour profile to kind of get maybe a better heads up of where we're going. But judging where we are, we got a small bid stack here, so for me I'm thinking midpoint, and then we probably get a bounce back off midpoint. So really interesting with cable. Dollar yen, structurally bullish on this one. We're still going higher, to be honest. We are forming so many inefficiencies that we know when this thing collapses it's going to be big. Yeah, but for now the dollar is going up against the yen. Dollar CAD, again, we were structurally bearish on this one. We've hit most targets that go into the downside. I think the deepest one is 130.41. Whether we're going to clip that or not remains to be seen, but again, based on positioning, if we can set up nicely and then start to break the offer stack up here, then these are late sellers. We're going to get a big run. We've got a massive gap in value here, so expect the dollar to pick up at some point against the Canadian. Now Bitcoin, this has to be, and I'm sure you guys would agree with me, and if you haven't seen my previous videos, go back and watch them, right? Because I'm sure you guys would agree with me that this has been the call of the century, right? And I did say to you guys that, look, I'm looking for it to come in at 25k. You know, I'm accurate with this stuff, right? But I didn't really think I was going to be that accurate, right? So for me, at 25k was a buyer. We literally strafed the bid stack and we've bounced off. And what did I say to you guys? I said, I'm sorry, I needed to cough there. I said that we were going to go up and trade the offer stack, and at least this G period guys will get broken, and for me that's where Bitcoin was valued. Now we're back over 30k. So again, guys, just paying attention to these nuances. I mean, we can see the late offer stacking, and for me, as soon as we could start breaking, which was taking out the high of the previous profile on a weekly, I mean, you can literally see all those stops ring out. I mean, the thing about the crypto market is it is full of non-professionals. No one is going to trade this stuff, right? Literally no one. And you know, again, unless you're in a country where you know you don't have much else to trade, you're not going to sit there just trading Bitcoin. It just doesn't make any sense. But again, these key levels, they matter to large buyers, large institutional holders, right? So when you start trading those key levels, you start trading into bid stacks. That is where they were previously before, and the transparency we have and the lack of sophistication in the crypto market relative to, say, the equities or the futures market means that these guys can't conceal they can't conceal their trades too much. There's only so much they can do, right? Because again, the Bitcoin network is transparent, so you can see everything that goes on. So there's much more analytics in Bitcoin, which means that reacting to these levels is still pretty straightforward, and everyone tends to go in the same direction, right? So, you know, the counterparties are the people who don't have the insight, like the retail guys, and because there's still a buy and hold mentality in Bitcoin, again, we can expect to see this in the way things play out in the order flow, right? Because you're not going to care if you bought Bitcoin at 30k, so there's always liquidity somewhere, and you can see that as so many people are probably selling out on their Bitcoin and new people are buying. Also, we're bringing in their Bitcoin miners, so there is definitely some supply about, even though it's not the same as like currency, for example. So for me, the key levels are what matter in crypto. Again, sterling yen, I said this time and time again, I am the most bullish on this asset. We are going to get a pullback, but again, I think my projection was that we probably get somewhere around 190 to 200 sterling yen. So we still have some room to run, but I mean, the trade was really down here. To be honest, we called this out from about 170, so that's where the trade was. So being long this would have been a good play. And then of course you got the Kiwi, which we were never really confident about. It did well, in my opinion, to trade past the midpoint, take out the minus development. Bit of a struggle here, but I think that if we could sort of find our own feet, then we might end up seeing a bullish Kiwi. We do have a gap in value, so I think we got to fill that first. But you know, we've got an offer stack here, an offer stack here, so I think we might see a liquidity sweep, and we have a gap in value here, so I'm expecting that's where the sweep will go to, and then we'll probably sell off. So we can reasonably say that we can see somewhat of a range until the wider monetary policy kind of changes. We're not going to go into the intraday stuff today. Today we're going to talk about the weekly profile, and we're going to look at some setups that happened across the week and how we could have taken advantage of them, and how we took advantage of them as well during this week. So we're going to take a look at that. Okay, so let's take a look at what we had today with dollar yen. Right, so let's take a look at dollar yen. So dollar yen, you can clearly see here that we were looking at this play, and you will see P&L on my screen. So this is the key point. So we can see here offer stacking, breakdown, traded through into value low. Nice little bounce. Responsive seller held the market down, and you can see how hard it was to grind it lower. So we got some good competing in H period, but the market did not do what we expected it to do at H period, right? So we had it in competition, offer stack, but then we just didn't go lower. And the key to understanding what's going on here is absorption. So why aren't we going lower? It means the sellers are being absorbed, right? The evidence was there clearly when the responsive buyer stepped in, D period, closed it up. These are 4-hour profiles, guys. So we're looking at our intra-week positioning. At that stage, what do we have? We have lower lows, lower highs on the profile, value dropping lower, slight overlapping, and then we have a higher close and a shift in sentimental character. So what next we get to see as we trade up, we take out the last profile high into what would have been a late initiating seller, right? So someone who's highly confident, a bit of money, tried to push this lower and failed. So we can expect that there's going to be stops up here liquidity wise, stops up here, and then we're looking at a high where we are likely to get a liquidity hunt. So what do we want to do? We want to position for this. So again, as we pushed up, we were long. It goes up to the liquidity high, which is all we were wanting, and then we covered that trade. Simple as that. Right, now we're selling off, we're going lower, we're back in. So there's a liquidity sweep, responsive seller in C period. So now we need to settle. We're looking for this profile to settle, give us some direction. From there, we now want to see what happens next, right? So if we keep going lower, great. Yeah, we do nothing, right? We need to set up first, and then we need to see our opportunity, and that's what we're looking for. So again, as soon as we set this profile, we will then talk about what happens next, because we can envision that, you know, we are probably going to trade back into bid stacks, for example, which is 143.22, 43.08, or we're going to sweep liquidity. That's kind of what we're paying attention for. We got liquidity sweeping here and here to do. So let's see what happens. So that was how we played dollar yen. Now there were similar opportunities across the board. For example, we can see responsive in H, liquidity sweep at the top. So essentially we pushed up, we grabbed some stops, moved lower, and then we traded out the low. So at this point we're retrading. This becomes a good short opportunity. And even if we're wrong, how do we mitigate against that? We can clearly see there's a bit of a grind. We traded a value low. We haven't really swept any liquidity. If we trade above 27.37, we want to shoot for long. Likely we're going to break the H period sellers. We're going to go up, trade value most likely, possibly 27.92. Structure will kind of confirm that. So we will go 1, 2, most likely 3, up to the breaks, up to the upside. And then now we got to face off with the responsive seller in I period. So that's kind of the general gist. However, I'm expecting us to break lower and then continue lower, most likely do a sweep under 126.82. Right, so hopefully that, guys, this has been a helpful video in terms of understanding the best way to run analysis when we're looking at assets. And again, I'm keeping this short and sweet. I look forward to doing the next video. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Don't forget to check out the links in the description below. Like and subscribe. It's how we get the word out, so everyone knows we're doing good stuff here. I mean, for me, I always say it's important to make trading real, and that's what we're trying to do here with this channel. You know, a lot of people put a lot of time, a lot of money into this, and it's important that they get the real deal. You know, some of the stuff that you see around YouTube is just put a pin in my eye. But anyway, guys, to my next video. Adios.
Hey, listen, I quit. Yeah, I'm going into stocks.
Name of the game. Move the money from your client's pocket into your pocket.
But if you can make your clients money at the same time, it's advantageous to everyone, correct?
No.
No one is paying attention.
It's unbelievable.
Have to act now.
God, this is intimate. I feel like I'm financially inside of you or something.
Okay.
I have 5 houses and a condo.
I'm considering going long on April wheat. What do you think, Valentine?